Looking out into the audience today, I wonder how many of you I remember. I wonder how many of you remember me. For the second and final time, I'm Anna Liao, and 3 years ago, I stood on this stage, and I paced this set, and I taught an audience that looks a little bit like you how bones tell stories. Well, I'm no exception. My bones say that I've probably just regained some bone mineral density, literally the material that forms the insides of your bones themselves. They'll tell you that I probably closed my epiphyses or growth plates off early and stopped myself from being as tall as I could have been. If you had told that to the little girl who waddled up to the math activity table and stared up there with her younger sister, who's now taller than her, she'd be amazed. And I'll tell you right now that there's some residual aching that just won't go away after years and years of over-exercise, even after working on recovery so hard so that I could go and leave the hospital early to see the haunted house with my friends from the MAPS program. Because this is the story of anorexia nervosa. This is the story of science and how I used it as a weapon, but also as a tool to recover. This is my story as well as I can remember it. And there's not too much I remember. I knew I was sick, trust me. No healthy version of me would have preferred talking to 1,000 clicker-counted people over eating the catered Jimmy John's and crying later that night over the Jimmy John's instead of the moment that I blacked out when I stood up to talk to someone. But it's different to hear the name for your special brand of sick. It's different when you become the case study. I used to read those voraciously. It was how I learned anatomy. To me, if I could understand the mechanisms of any pathology, I had to also know the basic moving parts. The thing is, there were a lot of parts to anorexia. It's known for being an eating disorder, a mental health issue, but it has a nasty propensity for tearing you apart cell by cell as you work yourself harder and harder to the end. A few examples. Endless chills in the middle of summer math leaders programs. Never healing from the paper cuts I got when I used to pass out event programs. The osteopenia I so wryly noted when I researched my last Rex talk. And some really big words that I don't know how I was learning my first year of high school. Lateral ventricular hypertrophy. I mean, that's a crazy word to be giving a high schooler, a 15-year-old. Lateral ventricular hypertrophy. I never got any brain scans done, so I can't tell you what was going on up there, but I can tell you that for other cases, well, not cases, but real, vibrant people with hopes and dreams and futures, there's been documented hypertrophy or enlargement of the fluid-filled ventricles inside your brain. And more fluid means less space for the cells that make up your brain, your neurons. It means less capacity to think and to feel and to reason. Less room for the traits that intrinsically make us human. But you're still there. And I can tell you, you are front row seating and spectating your own descent into something less and less, just less. That's how it feels. And in some convoluted sense, that's how it works. Memory deficits similar to those seen in Alzheimer's disease persist even after recovery. The way memory consolidation, or how memories are encoded in your brain, works is that neurons in your hippocampus, in the very center of your brain, fire signals that replay certain patterns. Each pattern is a single memory. And these memories that form send more signals to something called your ventral striatum. That's associated with dopamine, with reward and addiction. Because the way my doctors explained it to me, I was dealing with an addiction to hunger, one that I couldn't just quit. Now, dopamine goes back and causes proteins, new cellular structures to form, and I can't believe that back then I was trying so many new things, like public speaking and leadership and improvisation, without being able to physically have them kept inside my brain. And I met some people in that time that are so incredible that I can not believe that I can barely remember them, and I want to force myself to go back in time and force those connections to form. That dopamine signaling is responsible for some of the over-exercise-based symptoms of anorexia. It's responsible for how eating less and less and how exercising more and more, and in my case, working harder and harder is just as addicting as any drug. At the end of the day, it's responsible for turning my adolescence into a black and white blur of nutrition facts and blinking pedometers and beeping medical instruments. But I'm lucky to remember anything at all. I mean, throughout my treatment, I probably met over 15 other kids like me. The doctors told me that a third of them, 5 of the most amazing people I have ever met, wouldn't make it, statistically. They didn't even get a chance to change what they remembered. Because somehow the molecular code of memory is stronger than any human willpower. Every time those dopamine receptors get activated, every time your striatum gets a new signal, that disease fights back. This process is called long-term potentiation, and what it means is that some connections keep getting prioritized over others. Every time you prioritize them, it gets easier to do it the next time. And for me, knowing how to die was prioritized over learning my life story. And the worst part about this, yes, it gets worse, is that we don't know what's happening. The neuroscience of memory is a fairly young field in itself. Eating disorder research is even younger. Right now, you all have learned just as much as any doctor would in a normal current events talk. But we're losing so much. I mean, I've lost some memories. I'm sure my brain lost a ridiculous amount of its potential. Countless other patients are lost to the statistics every day. We can't lose anything more. I've pieced the last few years together, bit by bit, more or less. I've seen the Museum Apprentice program change like the ship of Theseus, but I have too, haven't I? I've hopefully improved my Rex Talk delivery. I've stood on this stage that formed my childhood, twice now? And now when I teach visitors how to make Guatemalan worry dolls for the 4th time, I'm right there with them. Not in a break room crying over bread. Because through everything, the museum has been there for me. The museum was there when I interviewed Jeannie White about the grief of loving and losing a sick child. The museum was there when I finally got to hold the confetti cannons that I always used to watch on New Year's Eve. And the museum is still here as I enter college, the person I am today, because of everything that I have given and I have received from the Children's Museum of Indianapolis. And so I'll remember more than a few things about this place, but this I'll remember the most: the people. The MAP all those years ago who taught me how centripetal force works, and the program directors who for the last 4 years have had endless patience for me, and the friends, the wonderful, amazing people that have kept listening to me talk far too much. This I'll remember. All of you. Thank you.